1982 Audi Quattro. Thank you, Eric, for letting me drive your awesome car. What do you guys think? This is the Audi that made Audi Audi. And like any experimental car, there's a lot of weird things about it. The first thing you see, everything is made with trapezoids. There's the coolest lines everywhere, and it even goes into the interior. The seats have diagonal lines, the headliner has diagonal lines, the door panels are diagonal, and it all matches these cool diagonal lines. Let me show you the motor. That's my favorite part about this. So what's cool about this, also not so cool, 100% of the motor sits in front of the front axle. It's not just a little bit in front. The entire motor is in front of the front axle. Look how close the timing cover is to the front of the car. And look at the alternator. You can touch it. I'm touching the alternator right here. If you hit a curb in a parking lot, you break your alternator. A lot of people were talking trash about this setup in the WRC in racing because they said no way is it going to handle good in any race circuit, and it's too complicated. But Audi entered this car into the racing, into WRC, and they destroyed with it. So the next year they made a better version, and for the next 5 years they kept making better and better versions of this car. And in the WRC, especially the Group B racing, they just destroyed, and they made some iconic race cars. But it all started with this weird sedan. This car had an amazing racing history with WRC and rally. It changed how rally cars were built and how cars were built, road cars were built after that. BMW had some E30 M3s in WRC in the late 80s, obviously two-wheel drive. I really wish BMW made an all-wheel drive car that they wanted to compete in WRC. What would it have looked like? It would have been an E30 M3 with bigger flares, maybe, all-wheel drive. It would have been so insane. Or maybe not an M variant. Maybe they just would have put an S14 into an iX or something, but I love the thought of BMW competing with this car in WRC with an all-wheel drive car. I really wish they did, but I love that Audi built this and changed everything for the car industry. This car, if you look at it at certain angles, it just looks like an extra long something. It needs to be shorter, and the Sport was quite a bit shorter, and it was a game changer on looks. This looks like a weird Scirocco, and some angles are much better than other angles. But the Sport, insane. Their most beautiful car ever with these old homologations. Like any 70s and 80s German sports car, the seats are incredible. The driving position is perfect, and the materials are not the best, but the leather feels good. I love how 80s this is. It's so simple. There's an analog clock that makes noise. Anytime there's an analog clock in a vehicle that makes noise, you feel fancy. The auto reverse Audi stereo is quite beautiful. This is not OEM, but I love it. I wish it was OEM. This is called the differential sphere, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly happens when I pull this knob. Nothing lights up. But this has to do with the center diff locking. I don't know what happens when I pull it though. I was trying to figure that out earlier today. Okay, it's out. Oh, that feels like it has a lot of grip. So maybe pulled out, I lock the center, and if it's not, the rear spins. Okay, push it in. Forward. Oh, the front spun. So maybe it's front and rear open, it does whatever it wants, and then if I pull it, it's locked. That's cool. Okay, I wish the lights worked, but that makes sense now. So pulled out, locks the center diff, pushed in, it's open, and it's mostly rear-wheel drive. Cool. thing you notice is how weird first gear is. I think this has like a 50-pound flywheel. You can't get the motor spinning, and as soon as you get it spinning and get into boost a little bit to get out of first gear, you have to get out of first gear. So first gear is this really unpleasant gear to be in, but once everything's revolving and spinning, then it's a real joy. There were some very talented drivers in WRC. Michel Mouton really drove this car. Oh, car show, car meet. Do some revving. No one cares. There's some hot boys filming and nobody cares that a Quattro just drove by. I was trying to rev this car, but you can't even hear anything. That was really funny. What was I talking about? Michel Mouton drove this car so cool. I don't think she ever had a foot off of one of the pedals. Just keeping boost through a turn and then holding brake, and then as soon as she does the turn, she would let go of the brake and it would just shoot off. All right, these twisties. It feels planted. Yeah, it feels planted. Whoa, it's kind of weird though. Huh, well, you know, it grips okay. There's a weird thing with the steering, and I don't know if it's because I know how far forward the motor is or if it actually feels weird. That was a lot of fun to drive. Driving this car for a few hours in mountain roads, I'm surprised how much grip it has. I thought it would be a little bit floaty and boaty, but once you're in a turn, you can just give it power and it grips. I don't know what it's like to have it on the edge in dirt. I would love to romp this on a dirt road, but I will respect the owner. It's not my car. I imagine it would do great, but what a great time driving this car. A lot of fun.